Hello, esports fans, and welcome here to this game of StarCraft that was found on reddit.com/r/castit. I will be your host, Thaco, and we will see spawning in the upper right-hand position of Derelict Watcher. It is the blue Terran, Pugwalker. And his opponent spawning down in the bottom left-hand position as our red Terran. It will be, from Team AG, it is JoshFreeman. This is going to be a TVT, which until very recently was considered one of the more stale matchups in the game because of the just power of Hellbats against everything. But with that change gone, we are back to seeing the exciting, long, crazy games of TVT that can just be all about where those tank lines are positioned and who can just win the game of chess that is played out through those siege tanks. But before we can see any of that happening, we are going to see what these players do, and it looks like they both toss down that barracks at the wall off, just going for that more standard play. We even see JoshFreeman getting out that nice early scout timing with the SCV. Yeah, both of them doing that. Checking behind his base to make sure there are no Reaper proxies coming at him. Doesn't want to get caught by anything too unusual. Wants to be able to play a nice safe... Oh no, he's going to proxy the barracks himself. Building that outside of his base so it's not scouted. And he's also tossing down that refinery nice and early. This looks like it's probably going to be just a load of heavy Reapers coming out of JoshFreeman, trying to overpower his opponent Pugwalker before Pugwalker can really do anything. Pugwalker grabbing that orbital command because his barracks is done, and out of his barracks he's just going to train a Marine, going for that more usual opening here, and he does not yet know about JoshFreeman's additional barracks. It's down here. I believe it should be out of range if the SCV does decide to scout just along that very edge. But that's not going to matter because he's not going to scout along the very edge, and he is not going to know about the second barracks. And let's see if this SCV goes home or if it decides to scout for shenanigans. No, it's going to go home. So there are two Reapers on the way, and just Pugwalker is not ready for that. That single Marine will threaten, the double Marine here will threaten that, but it will not be able to hold off two Reapers. Also, with the second barracks, I don't think JoshFreeman is going to stop at two Reapers. I'd be very surprised if he did, especially considering the first one is already out and he still has two in production. This is going to be a very aggressive play. Let's see how well Pugwalker can hold it. If he can keep this going and get this into a longer game, or if this will just end instantly. And that first Reaper will go down. No, just gets out of there with 6 health. It jumps right up into those Marines. And those Marines actually do not have the world's largest surface area that they have to cover. There's not a lot of space that Reapers can jump up on this map. It's just what we can see right here now on the screen. This is all the space that the Reapers have. But there are currently 3 Reapers on the map, 2 more in production. Gonna go up to 5, 6, 7, that area. That's really the tipping point on Reapers. Once you're going above that, they're just not going to be as cost efficient. And to reflect that, we see that JoshFreeman is tossing down his expansion. He has put the hurt on his opponent. His opponent, who does successfully kill off 1 Reaper, and who did have an opening there that could have been exploited, but he did not do that yet, and Pugwalker is going into the Banshee play that has become more powerful now since that Hellbat nerf and Banshee buff, with that decrease of the cloak cost to 100 minerals and 100 gas. We will see him shortly get out that first Banshee and then following that cloak, but we see JoshFreeman is tossing down 2 expansions behind 2 gateways, 2 command centers behind this, and to the only single expansion of Pugwalker. The Reapers actually are no longer even trying to push up into that base. I believe 2 of them, 1 of them was lost. Only 1 of them was lost. But the Banshee is now out with even a Raven on the way to make sure cloaked units are not going to get anything done against Pugwalker. And we will have to see. Banshee's cloak should be done by the time this gets to JoshFreeman's base. We will have to see what he can do to hold this now, as the aggression will switch onto him as Pugwalker becomes the more aggressive player. There are no turrets. I don't even believe there is an engineering bay done. So there is no option for turrets. It's all going to have to be scans. But there aren't a large quantity of Marines back here yet. Nor is there a large quantity. Oh, the engineering bay is done. The missile turrets are now in production in the mineral line. Those should finish up and force this Banshee out of the mineral line just to attack buildings and structures and loose units where it can. It will not be able to kill off that turret before it finishes. It might be able to get just the very edge of this gas, especially with that one SCV being a rebel and like, no, I'm going to deliver my minerals to this command center. Gets the cancel on that building there. It was that starport, and that starport is going to be constructed within range of that new missile turret there. This is just going to be a nuisance. It's not going to get a whole lot of damage done, but there is a second Banshee in production for Pugwalker, who is now tossing down additional gateways and should start pumping out a large quantity of Marines from those. He does have a siege tank on the way. We also see the siege tank coming out for JoshFreeman, who does not actually have a large quantity of production facilities out yet. He still has his dual barracks, but those do not have add-ons on them. He does have the tech lab on the factory pumping out those siege tanks, and his starport just finished, and he is getting a Viking. That Viking to kill off the Banshees as they appear. But there's a big push now coming out across the map from Pugwalker. That's a lot of Marines, a siege tank, the Banshee, and a Raven. And this is going to be all about that defensive positioning of the siege tank from JoshFreeman. And that was a good one. It got that first hit off. This is going to be a contain out of Pugwalker. It's going to be very difficult for him to break that siege tank. And now even additional bunkers being tossed down. This is an easily defended position for JoshFreeman, but it's not a position from which he can ever really move out easily unless he gets the overwhelming force and is able to just bust down into Pugwalker's army. Because there are now 2 siege tanks down there on that low ground, the Banshees are going to just be able to move around and just pick off anything they want. The missile turret there does give vision. I was wondering how that Viking was able to shoot at one of those Banshees, but the missile turret does give vision and detection. And we see now that there are still just that one factory on the ground. Second factory now in production. The refinery is being taken at the expansion. And just these 2 armies, this army of Pugwalker just coming up and trying to pick away at this army of JoshFreeman the best it can, and the siege tanks trying to reposition themselves so that they can get high ground vision on that bunker. That bunker will fall because SCVs do not get pulled to repair it, and the bunker does fall. No, it doesn't. He switches targets to a different bunker. He's just going to let that bunker burn down. But now the siege tanks do have scan vision on each other, and that first bunker falls. The second bunker is going to fall momentarily. That siege tank is under fire, though, and the seeker missile does get laid down, but it gets taken out before that's effective. But the splash damage from the seeker missile takes out the bunker. And this contain of Pugwalker is actually even now just doing a lot of damage as he tries to scan and move that Viking in to take out the Banshees. But the Marines come in underneath that and just hold it back. We are seeing single tank production still out of JoshFreeman, getting the second and third factory down now. And back up in the base of Pugwalker, we see he's even just building defensive units, not even being aggressive with these. This is just a contain he has out across the map at the front of JoshFreeman's base. And he's now tossing down a third command center, getting ready to take his next base because he feels very safe. And with good reason. He's taken out 2 bunkers, he's taken out a siege tank, he continues to pick away with those Banshees, tossing down another factory with a tech lab to get more siege tanks out onto the map. Going to be playing more of that Marine, that bio tank play. And this is going to be a game of siege tank positioning. Who can get that superior position? And who can build the best supporting units? There's even a point defense drone now, so that those Vikings just don't do anything. So he tries to kill that off. He does get it, but Pugwalker pulls out. He's done. He thinks it's, getting to the point where his contain might not work anymore. So he's going to just leave. And JoshFreeman now is getting Banshee Cloak for himself. Gonna probably try to get a little harassment done with that, and that will be marginally effective because we do not see missile turrets from Pugwalker. If he can get that first one in, the first one will do some damage, but there are Vikings out for Pugwalker, so it won't do huge amounts of damage, just might gonna be some out positioning play he can do. But we see just the supply difference of these two players is starting to get very large, as Pugwalker is now almost 50 supply ahead of JoshFreeman, as Pugwalker is tossing down that combat shields upgrade for his Marines. I believe he has stim done. He does have stim done. He has the +1 armor and the +1 weapons for his infantry done. He has Banshee Cloak done. And JoshFreeman has nothing done. He's going to have Banshee Cloak very shortly. But the +2 upgrades for Pugwalker have been started, and that's going to leave JoshFreeman, you know, in a less positive position. Less positive is not a very good way to say that. Just not a negative position. Just not as strong a position. We'll go with that. Not as strong a position. And JoshFreeman is flying that barracks around to scout. He wants to know if there are drops coming so he can get ready for that drop defense. But the army of Pugwalker is once again moving out. And JoshFreeman has moved out of that choke point onto the low ground to try to hold at this, what he's going to try to take as a third base. But this does leave his army more exposed. We will have to see how the tank positioning of Pugwalker can pull off. Does he too aggressively move into this? Does he very passively scout it and know where he can put his siege tanks? This is going to be a very, very important game of siege tank positioning. And the scan goes down. Pugwalker knows where the army is. Pugwalker will have to decide where he tosses down those siege tanks, as there are even now Ravens coming out onto the map for JoshFreeman, so he can start tossing down things like point defense drones of his own. And those Banshees are going to come in before the missile turrets are ready. The siege tanks were sieged up. That third base is going to have to be evacuated. And that should also mean that Pugwalker thinks, JoshFreeman thinks about pulling his army back into the more defensible position. The point defense drones go down, so the Vikings cannot actually shoot any of the air. They do take down those point defense drones. The Banshees are once again exposed. The Vikings may overextend a little bit into those Marines, but no, they do not. There are 3 siege tanks coming out at a time right now for JoshFreeman. A lot of scans going down, so Pugwalker knows exactly what's going on here. And it looks like he's going to try to position right across that little gap between here and here and start setting up a siege. No, it looks like he might just go home. Gonna try to possibly defend against these Hellions. These Hellions are gonna get some SCV kills, but that was an excellent reaction time out of Pugwalker as he pulled out all of his SCVs, and the Hellions of JoshFreeman are just gonna get stuck up here. They might pick off a couple Marines if they're lucky. No, just gonna go for the last couple SCV kills before they are eventually picked off by those Marauders and those Marines. And the first level ship weapons upgrade is now on the way from Pugwalker as he continues to add on those Vikings. He is getting that air superiority that every late game Terran player wants, because that late game Terran play eventually does shift into that sky play, because that just becomes the more powerful units. But we see that JoshFreeman is finally getting his 2 armories onto the map. He will start going heavily into upgrades, and he will catch up eventually. I mean, +2 infantry weapons and armor upgrades are already done for Pugwalker, and JoshFreeman is just now starting his +1 vehicle weapons and armor upgrades. Those upgrades make those siege tanks such strong units that they are just almost unstoppable in massive quantities, except against air units, which is why the air superiority is going to become such a crucial element of this game, as both JoshFreeman and Pugwalker vie for who can get more Vikings, whose Vikings can take out the opponents, who gets the Banshees, who gets the Ravens, and eventually even who gets the battle cruisers. As Pugwalker is now adding on that Corvid reactor for the Raven upgrade. And the army of Pugwalker is once again moving out. A lot of Marines mixed into this army. A lot of Vikings flying down towards this now. The Vikings going to start firing each other. The Banshees do cloak. The Banshees will be able to pick off some of the Marines. The Hellions even there trying to soak up some of the shots, trying to get the high ground. This is just not The point defense drone now goes down for JoshFreeman. He saw Pugwalker do that to him so many times this game. He decides to take a page out of Pugwalker's book and forces the heir of Pugwalker back. And he is scanning. He sees the army. He knows exactly what he's fighting against. He is trying to get those +1 upgrades out. He wants to engage after those are done. But Pugwalker is going to take out these destructible rocks and try to come around from the side and attack the fourth base of JoshFreeman from that high ground. And that is going to... No. Gonna come back. Both players have their tanks unsieged. It's going to be a game of who can get their tanks sieged first, who can get their tanks sieged in the right spot, and then who has the better tank upgrades. That can never be ruled out. If you had the superior tank upgrades, there is some leeway in who has the better tank positioning. But we see that first level tank upgrades, weapon and armor upgrades are now finished for JoshFreeman. The second level vehicle upgrades are now started. The first level ship upgrades are being started for Pugwalker, as well as the second tier vehicle plating upgrades. So where do our upgrades stand at this point, you might ask? We have level 3 weapons for the infantry of Pugwalker. Level 2 armor is finished for his infantry, and level 1 ship plating is done, to the only +1 vehicle weapons and armor upgrades for JoshFreeman. JoshFreeman, who's also now researching high-sec auto tracking, which is the +1 range to missile turrets and planetary fortresses, as we see here at the 4th base. And that poor SCV does get the scout off. He knows what's coming. But can the planetary fortress hold? I don't think it can. The SCV repair, not enough. The base does fall without much contention. Couple Hellions do stream in to their deaths. But the majority of the army for JoshFreeman does not commit to that fight, because that was not a fight he could win. That high ground making it so difficult to hold a 4th base on this map. And it looks like JoshFreeman's going to sit still on the scan. He doesn't want his opponent to know exactly what he's doing. Doesn't want him to get such a free read. Even now researching that Terran buildings armor upgrade. That's a research that you almost never see upgraded. But it's going to be because this game is going to go on for quite a while. It revolves so much on things like planetary fortresses holding 4th bases in these awkward 4th base situations where there's high ground right there. The two armies now sitting, just looking at each other across this no man's land here in the middle of these two siege lines. Who is gonna attempt to break this siege is the question. Is it going to become a siege? No, JoshFreeman's not going to let it. JoshFreeman's going to leave. But the Vikings, the air superiority contest is going to happen. But it looks like at this moment in time, at this moment, Pugwalker has the Viking count. But he has the Viking count by actually only 1 Viking at this point. Those point defense drones were so crucial in helping him catch up. Even now, JoshFreeman having that Viking superiority. But it will not matter. That will change. And the two ground armies are going to go at each other. Very, very aggressive siege up there from JoshFreeman. All the Marines do not get in. The just ground bio army of Pugwalker just dissolves there to that heavy mech firing of JoshFreeman. JoshFreeman takes out all that bio, but loses a large quantity of siege tanks in the process. Both players down very low on supply, and that's actually a situation you never want to be in this late as the meching player. You need that supply advantage. Your opponent will be able to remax so much faster than you. And there's this network of missile turrets here outside the main base. A lot of siege tanks here from both players. The siege tanks of JoshFreeman just melt there like butter. But there are more behind them, and they are going to continue to lay siege here. They did have the superior upgrades. That is why they held that position. They are going to continue holding, but now with the Vikings, even the battle cruisers are now done. That is the late game move of both of these players. It will happen a little later for JoshFreeman, but you need that air superiority, and Pugwalker has held it for so long in this game that he was able to make this battlecruiser transition, and he needs to start looking at capitalizing on holding all of the air and just start abusing that position. He takes now a 5th base But we also do see JoshFreeman attempting to do the same. These 5th bases, just like the 4th bases, are in such awkward positions. This is such a wide open map. The armada of Pugwalker now moves out across the map. We see Widow Mines coming in for JoshFreeman, just trying to do anything to negate the ground shooting ability of his opponent's army. He can't quite make this mass air transition himself, and he does see everything. He knows the battle cruisers are ready. He knows the army's right here. He does not quite have the ability to do anything about it yet, though. The production out of Pugwalker is so strong at this point. He's producing battle cruisers 2 at a time, Vikings 4 at a time, laying siege to this planetary fortress. But the ground army is going to come in and try to take it out. He does have Thors. He also has that Wings of Liberty Collector's Edition Thor, which just looks so much cooler than the normal Thor. I mean, look at all those extra fins. But they are in high impact payload mode, so they are going to be able to take out those battle cruisers quite quickly without the repairing on those battle cruisers. So they're going to retreat. Pugwalker doesn't want to lose anything unnecessarily here. Both players are in such a fragile position at this point. Both of them down very low in supply. They don't want to be throwing their armies away unnecessarily. The +3 vehicle plating upgrades are on the way for Pugwalker, as well as that +2 ship weapons upgrade. +3 vehicle weapons, though, will finish momentarily for JoshFreeman. He will need to soon start that +3 vehicle plating upgrade because he does not yet have that. And he has quite a large gas count as well as mineral count. He's hitting the point right now where his greatest bottleneck is just his production facilities, but we do see him not producing fully out of these new factories on the low ground. He's trying to remax as quickly as he can into that Thor play. It looks like he will not actually try to contend that air superiority quite as much. Somebody scanned the middle ground there, trying to find the opponent's army. It does look like Pugwalker has gotten several scans down now onto JoshFreeman's army, knows exactly what he has, knows where it is, and will in fact actually even get the jump down onto the 5th base and do quite a bit of damage to it. So we see JoshFreeman trying to get the scouting information up onto the 5th base of Pugwalker using that barracks. But JoshFreeman now knows about Pugwalker's army coming down here. That missile turret will get a Viking kill. Got the Viking kill, but it will fall so quickly to those battle cruisers. It will not kill a battle cruiser. The Widow Mines running in, trying to get burrowed. They can do a lot of splash damage to everything, but the scan allows the siege tanks to just decimate them. And they try to now run into range of that planetary fortress, but that scans, they just fall very quickly. The main army is not actually coming down here to defend this because the main army of JoshFreeman is at the 4th base. They take out that planetary fortress and continue to march on through, but his own 5th base will also fall. Excuse me, that was the 5th base of Pugwalker, not the 4th base of Pugwalker. Both players' 5th bases have fallen. They are both on 4 bases again, but it looks like JoshFreeman might be in a little worse position to lay siege. Yes, because he does not have anything to kill off that battle cruiser. He's going to try to kill off this planetary fortress before he dies to that battle cruiser, though, but it will not matter. They will die off, and the air army of JoshFreeman will now run down in here. Yamato cannon is now done. Those missile turrets will not be a threat to these battle cruisers anymore. The Thors and Widow Mines have to engage this army now. The Widow Mines running in, hoping to get burrowed before anything can be done, and they will burrow, and they just do great amounts of damage to those battle cruisers, taking out one of them, allowing the Thors to now switch into high impact payload mode and take out those battle cruisers oh so quickly. With that more single target mind being done, they are just picking apart those battle cruisers, which are focusing down those Widow Mines. Not the greatest choice from them as the Thors now march up towards that air armada, but they won't be able to deal with the siege tanks quite as quickly. But there are enough of them that they can, because they have that only +2 plating still. The army of Pugwalker goes home. He does not want to lose it. He wants to restabilize. He wants to try to take that 5th base again. So we see the 5th base of JoshFreeman being taken very aggressively right next to the 5th base of Pugwalker. JoshFreeman is stabilized on that fourth base in the bottom, but he is mining out quickly from all of his bases. A fate that Pugwalker and JoshFreeman share, as we see Pugwalker is mining low on that fifth base, mining low on that fourth base, almost mined out in his natural, and completely mined out in his main. Just almost mirror image for JoshFreeman, as the barracks here just, I can see you call down those mules. Both players muling so heavily at this point. I believe they both have orbital commands to spare. They both have 8 orbital commands, 8 and 5 on the field respectively. But this air armada, solely air armada, so many Vikings now on the field for Pugwalker. That is 21 Vikings on the field, 9 battle cruisers to the 11 Thors of JoshFreeman. But there is a little skirmish going on here down at this base. As soon as that planetary fortress finishes, though, this will not be a skirmish, but the army is going to come as well. This is just going to die. Looks like there are units sitting outside this bottom base. They do take it down, those Marauders and Marines. Marauders is doing such great damage to buildings, being able to sit just outside the range. Not sure if that was a planetary fortress. From the past behaviors of all of those outer bases, it probably was. And the army of JoshFreeman is now running up into the 5th base. The army for Pugwalker was back attacking, and it lifts off. This was an orbital. It should fall to those Vikings, which are attacking it as quickly as they can, scanning down into the low ground, trying to find out what's there, wants to find that army, knows that it can run down some units, but those Hellbats are no match for the planetary fortress. They're going to go in and try to take out SCVs. Nope, building. But the armada of Pugwalker is once again here. The Vikings and the battlecruisers getting split up a little bit. Those Thors will be able to take out those battlecruisers if they engage, but they will not. Those battlecruisers being very aggressive right now. They cannot hold against that army from JoshFreeman. These battlecruisers are getting very out of position. This is not a good situation for Pugwalker. Does JoshFreeman yet realize that he has such a good position on these battlecruisers? He doesn't have a choice now. He has to attack. That Yamato cannon taking out a large quantity of them. That might be why JoshFreeman chose to retreat so much at that point. But those battlecruisers just melting. There were once 9 battlecruisers. Battlecruisers are so expensive. There is now only 1 battlecruiser. They are still being produced 2 at a time. But that's a devastating loss for Pugwalker. JoshFreeman tying up the supply a little bit there. Just forcing Pugwalker also on a very low gas count. He does not have the gas to reproduce 9 battlecruisers. That was devastating to his army, to his game plan. He needed to keep those Vikings with his battlecruisers. Battlecruisers do great damage when they are supported. Even Widow Mines coming in now doing a lot of damage to those Vikings. The Viking count is just plummeting. The supply is all tied up. This was once moments ago, a 20 supply lead by Pugwalker is now in almost a 15 supply deficit. That was a huge pickup for JoshFreeman. Those battlecruisers just got so out of position. Even though the siege tank's falling, this expansion might fall. It's mining almost exclusively gas, but that's not something you can say lightly. Pugwalker needs gas. Both these players need gas. But we see that JoshFreeman has a much greater bank at this point than Pugwalker, as the engagements once again met. Those Yamato cannons tearing apart everything on the ground. Needs to take out those Thors so they cannot kill him. But Widow Mines getting the job done nicely themselves, though. The siege tank's gonna try to retreat, gonna try to kite over that last Widow Mine. That last Widow Mine might be able to get some damage done. They're running in. They're gonna try to burrow. If they can get the shots off, they will kill battle cruisers. So close. That battle cruiser survives with 55 health. But neither player really has an army at this point, is the issue we will now be seeing. 2 battle cruisers, that's all well and good. Missile turrets might be able to deal with that unless they have the Yamatos down, but they are both so low on energy they cannot. They're going to try to take out those missile turrets, but they're going to fall to the repairs. The first one falls, the second one, can it get away? 24 health, and it does escape. But neither, like I said, neither player has much on the field right now. Six Thors in production at a time right now. 6 Thors just finished for JoshFreeman, 1 in production at a time. He still has the larger gas bank, both players with large mineral banks. And that might actually, in the end, favor Pugwalker, who can just make a mass marine transition here to finish out the game. If he still has the production capability for that. He is sitting on 5 barracks at this point. There are still a lot of siege tanks. I'm not sure mass marine would be the greatest transition, but it would get a lot of damage done, and both players running so low on those gas counts that it might be the only option left. Thor's just switching to high impact payload mode, as that is going to be the best choice. Gonna siege up here and try to take out this very forward planetary fortress that was built there to try to act as forward scouting information, bottleneck his opponent, and just put some damage on units. Both players had such large mineral banks. This planetary fortress will push that back, but not before a siege tank dies. This is a pretty aggressive push, because the siege tank outranging the planetary fortress in this position. But it looks like JoshFreeman's gonna try to come around the back door of this. He needs to get those SCVs repairing. Will he attack the orbital command here, or will he in turn go through and attack the army behind this of Pugwalkers? No, he's gonna take out the base first, forcing the liftoffs, putting it in a position where the Thors actually will do more damage. He does take that out. Both players traded bases, both players' armies, forcing the other one out of position right now. Neither one's army where they really want to be. But the army of JoshFreeman can just grow so much quicker at this point, because he until now held that gas lead. He is actually mining gas at a much quicker rate. He is getting 400 per minute opposed to the 200 of his opponent. Now even doing the Hellion run by, but there's nothing mining at this base. Why do a Hellion run by at this point? The worst that can happen is they'll get lost. There's that planetary fortress there defending it, and the Hellions will all fall. They did get the scouting information. They do know what's going on. The army of Pugwalker, though, pulled back around to this flatland between your second and your third base to defend his production facilities, which are going to be the more important at this point. Trying to follow that base of Pugwalkers as far as he can is JoshFreeman. Wants to find out where it lands. Has this huge Thor Widowmine army built up at this point. This counters the airplay out of Pugwalker so well. Pugwalker still sitting on that marginally heavy airplay. Mech is literally just a way for shitty players to steal games. Not the truest of statements. It's what makes the TVT matchup so awesome right now. This exact mech play is not the most standard, really. I mean, it was a direct answer to the airplay out of Pugwalker, as Pugwalker just falls here. You gotta run all of your ravens into mines. Yeah, that's true. I mean, that was a GG from Pugwalker. Not really, though. He just rage quit the game. It was an excellent played game to JoshFreeman, able to hold those early game attacks, get the mech where it needed to be, and Pugwalker just allowed him to sit there, made that very early air transition, but then just did not protect his battle cruisers, and they all fell to the Thors. In the end, it was just an amazingly played game by JoshFreeman. Pugwalker making all the wrong mistakes at all the wrong times, allowing the mech play to just decimate the airplay. So congratulations to JoshFreeman on that awesome win. That was a great game, and I hope you will all join me for more games of StarCraft in the future. Thank you all. Good night.